Kakadosh Boker Or Masechet Avodah Zarah Daf Kav Amud Aleph Daf Yomi. We're on 22a1. We were speaking about Arisutel Rabbi Shimon ben Lazar Letle, which means Rabbi Shimon ben Lazar does not hold that we're going to say that the Aris is doing Arisuto, which means that the sharecropper is taking his own portion, and therefore, just like a Jew is not allowed to rent out a field to a kuti, right? So to the same halacha would apply on Chol Hamoed, because kilu people are going to say, listen, he's working on Chol Hamoed, or he's doing these things. Ela oved kochavim ma'itama mutar. So he says, so oved kochavim, what's the reason why it's going to be mutar to rent out a field to oved kochavim? Damrina lei v'tzait, because we're going to tell him, and he's going to listen, which means we're going to tell the oved kochavim that he's renting it, that he shouldn't do melacha on Shabbat, and he's going to listen to us. So says the Gemara, kuti nami amrin. So same thing with the kuti then. So he says, kuti lo tzait. Kuti doesn't listen. Ta'amar ana gaminach tfei minach, because he's always going to say, I know more than you. Meaning many times it happens that if a person wants to come and they want to do something, so therefore what happens is that, if they don't know anything, it's very good. The second sometimes they know, it makes it worse, because then I don't have to listen to you because I know more than you. So that's why it's always better, right? The understanding of that. I once had that with the principal. I told him, it's even better that you have that a lot of Jewish teachers. He says sometimes it's worse. I said, well, worse. He says, yes, why? If you come and you tell a non-Jew, listen, this is what you teach, this is what you not teach, this is how you dress, this is how you dress. So they listen. Why? This is ethics, this is a code, that's it. So the second that they're Jewish, I know the halacha, I know, so therefore I know more than you, kilo. The same thing. So the kuti is not going to listen. If so, says the Gemara, my idiot, so then why do we say that you've got lifnei iver? So he says, Chada ve'od kama. You're right, there's two different reasons. Chada because of lifnei iver. Ve'od another reason, because it's going to be called on his name because of the isur of maritime. Fine. Story. Hanau Morikai. There was a story of Zore Ginat Karkum. Yeah? So one of them was Israel, one of them was Oved Kochavim. The Oved Kochavim Nakib B'Shabbata. So the one of Oved Kochavim used to take it for himself on Shabbat. He said B'Chav Shabbat, and he said he used to take it on Sunday. Atu L'Kamed Rava, they came in front of Rava. Shara Lehu, and he said it's going to be permitted. Eight Ravina L'Rava. So asked Ravina to Rava, Yisrael V'Kochavim Shekibulu Sadeh B'Shutafut. When you have a Jew and a Goy that they accept upon themselves a field B'Shutafut, Lo Yomar Yisrael Oved Kochavim, don't come tell him, you take it on Shabbat, and I'm going to do it b'chol. But if they did that at the beginning, then it's mutar. Meaning the heter of this shutafut is only at the beginning, not in the middle. Meaning in the middle of the shutafut, he can't just come and tell him, by the way, you take Shabbat and I take Sunday. It has to be at the beginning when they make the shutafut. This is how they divide it. Now, if they do cheshbonot, it's going to be asur. Ichsif. So he was embarrassed. Why was he embarrassed? Because he made a mistake in the halacha. But at the end, it was okay because they did it already at the beginning. So since they did it at the beginning, he was not actually over on any avera. Rav Gevia mi Bekatil Amar. Rav Gevia from this place of Bekatil said, Hanau shatile deolahavu. These people were shotlim, right? Shotle olah. Okay, and therefore, Oved Kochavim achil shane deolah. So therefore, he gave the goy the years of olah. Yisrael shani de'etera, and Yisrael took the years afterwards. And they came in front of Rava. He said it's going to be permitted. So says the Gemara, you have the question of Ravina to Rava, that has to be at the beginning of the condition. So says the Gemara, you're right. According to this Girsa, it's a proof. It's not like a question, it's a proof. So says the Gemara, if he got embarrassed. So he says, Lahadam, no, we don't have that, meaning we don't have this Girsa that he was embarrassed. So they asked, Tamanami, are you going to tell me that when they do it stam without making any conditions, it's the same halacha? So Tashema, we learned only mitru mitchila, it's going to be mutar. Stama, it's going to be asur. But if you look in the Seifa, it says it's going to be asur. Hastama, it's going to be mutar. So you're right, you cannot bring any proof from the stama, and therefore to do with the stama, we don't have an answer. Okay? Adran alach, lifnei dehen. Okay, we finished the first chapter of Avodah Zarah. Now we're going to start the second perek, the second chapter of Avodah Zarah. Fine. En ma'amidin, the bottom of Kav Bet Amud Aleph, 21b on 22b, sorry, right on the bottom. En ma'amidin be'ema bepuntakaut shel ovdei kochavim. You're not allowed to leave an animal, right, by an inn of ovdei kochavim. Mipnei shechashudim al revi'ah, because they are going to suspect it for revi'ah. Yeah. So he says, "Velo titiyached isha imahen," and a woman shouldn't come and be mitiyached with them. Why? Shechashudim al rayot, because they're going to be suspected for infidelity. Velo yitiyached adam imahen, mipnei shechashudim shvi'ut damim, and a man should not be with them also, because they are suspected of shvichut damim, right? Murder. Kavet amubet 22b says the Gemara. Urminhi, we have a contradiction. לוקחים מהם בהמה לקורבן, והם חושבים לא משום רווח, לא משום נדבע, לא משום מוצב, לא משום נאבד. Says the bright, there's a Tosefta. You're allowed to purchase an animal from a goy. And he says, why? You're allowed, now this is for a korban. So if it's just stam, so that's fine, but here it's for a korban. Now we're not going to suspect that it's going to become pasul for a korban, not because of rovea or nirba, so to mean it because of being with the animal, or mishum muktzeh, that he's designated it for Avodah Zarah, so to mean miuchad לעבודה זרה, ולא משום נאבד, או בגלל שכבר עבדו אותה בתור עבודה זרה. So בשם המוקצה ונאבד, I understand. אם איתה דאקציה, בגלל אם הוא יקצה את זה לעשות עבודה זרה, right, or לדברים האלה, ואם איתה דפלחה, he wouldn't sell it. Meaning, if this guy made it into עבודה זרה, he's not going to sell you the animal. אלא רווח ונרבה לחוש, but why don't you suspect about רבייה? Meaning, you told me in the Mishnah that you're suspecting of רבייה. Here, you're not suspecting of רבייה. Sa'amar Rav Tachlifa, Amar Rav Shila bar Ravina, Mishmed Rav. Says Rav Tachlifa in the name of Rav Shila bar Ravina in the name of Rav. Oved kochavim chasal be'emto shelo te'aker. He says no. The Oved kochavim is going to be chasal be'emto. He's not going to be rovea his own animal, because if not, it's going to get ruined. So he's chasal be'emto. He doesn't want to do it. If it's going to be somebody else's animal, yes, we suspect him. But if it's going to be his own animal, he's not going to do it. So therefore, he could sell you his animal. So ask the Gemara. That's going to be good if it's going to be a nekeva, right? But zecharim, that they don't become akar because of rivia. So what are you going to say then? They can have relations with the zecharim. So Amar Rav Kahana comes and he says, Hoilu machishin babasar. He says, since he's machishotam, right, in the basar. So he comes and he says, right, so because of the rivia, so because of that, he's not going to do it. Elahad Tanya, but that which you learned in a braita, lochim be'ema, you're allowed to take an animal from their shepherds. Maybe the shepherd did the reviyah to the animal. So answers the Gemara, their shepherds will never do it because they're afraid they will lose their salary. Meaning, if the guy knows that the shepherd has relations with the animal, so therefore he's going to be in trouble. Yeah, why? Because then it could be the guy's not going to pay him, so he wouldn't do such a thing. Right? So he says, "Elahad tell you what you learned in right time. Mosim be'emal roesh shelahen, leimar roesh shelahem itareh mishum said scharo." There's a braita, and the braita says mefurash. You don't give your animals, so they're roeh, because yeah. But why don't we say it should be mutar? Why? Have said tzachar. Says no. Inu diyade ba'adade. The ovdei kochavim know themselves, so mirtete, so they're afraid. Anan de lo yadina, but we don't know about it. So therefore, lo mirtate, meaning like this. The goyim between themselves, they know this is what they do. So since they know this is what they do, so their shepherds are afraid, because he already knows the guy's watching him. Because since he knows what goes on, the guy's watching him. If he's going to do it, he's going to lose the sachar. We don't know about these things. So since we don't know about these things, the shepherd is not afraid. So shepherd will do whatever he wants. So Amar Rabba says, Hainu dam niinshi, that's what people say. Machteva gelala baza. Just like the cheret is korea and roshem b'shaish, ragala bechavra yada, so too the olech rachil makid bechavero. Right? Which means that even though it's bad, he's afraid of the which was made out of barzel because he's makirbo. So too, kol olech rachil yarem mipanav shel olech rachil acher. Meaning because he's makir rishutos, meaning that each one knows, right? It's like the ganav knows the other ganav. So, he's afraid of him. You understand? Yihachi says the Gemara, if so, zecharim minikavot lo nizbun. So it should be asur also to purchase be'emot zecharim from oved kochavim minikavot. Why? Because maybe we're going to suspect that she had relations with the animal, with the male animals. So that means you're not allowed to buy a male from a female Oveda Kochavim, from a female woman. Yes, that's what we're going to suspect. So answers the Gemara, Kevan de Migreba, if it's going to be like that, it's going to be running after her all the time, mirtata. Meaning there's a certain, there's a certain nature, a tendency, that the second that the animal goes with the woman, so he's always going to be by her. So he's going to be running around her, jumping on top of her, doing all the... So because of that, she's afraid that people will start understanding. Yeah? So understand. Yeah? So he says, Elahad Tani Rav Yosef, that which Rav Yosef says, Armelata lotar bekalba. There's halacha. An almana should not grow a kelef. Why? Because we suspect that an almana, he says, why? Because we suspect that something's going to happen. So he says, V'lo teshri be barerav b'ushpiza. Right? And don't have a Talmid Yeshiva by her as a guest also. Because again, since he's Tzanua b'derech klal, she's not afraid that all of a sudden that she's going to have relations with him, right? So she's going to lure him on. She's going to convince him. And then afterwards, he's not going to say anything. So Bishlama bar berav, I understand bar berav is Saniyahu. So therefore, he's not going to say anything. Meaning, even if she did do a sin with him, she's not afraid that it's going to go out. But Kalba, Kevin the Migraba, Mirtata. But the dog doesn't understand. So he's going to be jumping all over her. And then everyone's going to understand what's going on, what went on between them. So says the Gemara, Kevin the Chishadya Leunsa Misricha Batra, he says, oh yeah, but also it could also be that she throws him a piece of meat. And it's also going to be the same thing. So from Meimar people are going to say, Ad Misricha Batra, the reason why is because Mishum Umtsa, the Kamisach, she threw him a piece of meat. Meaning not always is it going to be because of this. It could, you could always depend it upon other things as well. So because of that, I'm going to say, you know what? It's not 100%. But that's the reason why, Be'emet, she should not have a dog. I mean, she should not grow a dog. Okay? Nekevot and nekevot ma'tam alom yachadin. So why don't we have the females by the females? Meaning, right? Why can't we be miyached a behema nekeva by an oved kochavim nekeva? The zachar by the nekeva, I understand. The male animals by the nekevot, I understand. But what about the female animals? So Amar Murukva Bar Chama mipnei she'ovdei kochavim mitzuyim etzel neshei chavrehem, because the ovdei kochavim are found by their friends' wives. Upe'amim, and sometimes ena motzea, he's not going to find her. Umotzet behema, meaning the oved kochavim is going to come to her house to be with her. Right? We're talking about the goy. The goy is going to come to her house to be with her. She's not home. So what does he find? He finds animal. So he goes with a female animal. Yeah, v'baitem, or if you want, you could answer. Afilu motzai, even if he does find her, namirova, he will also. The Amar more and more says, chaviv alem b'emtam shel Yisrael, tell me neshoten. The behemot of Israel are more chashuv for them than even their own wives. Yeah, and therefore, since it's going to be even more than their own wives, so he comes and he says, right, is because of that, he comes and he says that it's going to be Asudam Rabbi Yochanan, the Shashba Nachash al Chava, Hitil Bazoama. He says this Tum'ah goes midorot ledorot. Goes from one generation to another Nachash. When the Nachash had relations with Chava, so therefore he placed with her a Tum'ah. And that Tum'ah continues for generations. So says the Gemara, so fine. So then it's also with Israel. Yachi Israel Nami. So he says, Israel Shamdu al Sinai Paska Zamatan. Israel, it took away the Zuama on Har Sinai. Ove Kochavim Shalom on Har Sinai, Lo Paska Zumatan. It did not take away their Zuama. So says the Gemara, so we're going to ask the following question. Ofot mai, what's halacha with ofot? Are you allowed to put an ofot etzel the Ovet Kochavim because of the chashash of reviyah or not? So Tashema, the Amar of Yudam Reshumah Reshum Rochanina, Nida Ito Ovet Kochavim Shelakach Avaz Min Ashuk. Ulakach Avaz. Are you listening? Gam Avaz. Reva'a, Chanaka, Tzela'a, Va'achala. Yeah. ואמר רב ירמיה מדיפתי, אני ראיתי ערבי אחד שלקח ירך מן השוק וחקק בה כדי רבייה, רבעה, צלעה ואכלה. And this is ממש ירך. ירך. Okay? Fine.